The Nuggets, already dealing with the loss of Jamal Murray due to the NBA's concussion protocols, are now going to be without Aaron Gordon as well. An important starter for them, one of their best players, and somebody they just gave a lot of money to over the summer, now dealing with a calf strain. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. Make sure you subscribe right here to the channel. Turn on those notifications as well. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, this is a big deal for a Denver Nuggets team that, for the most part, has stayed fairly healthy, particularly in their championship run, stayed pretty healthy. And now the injuries are piling up. Aaron Gordon, a big loss with this calf strain, multiple weeks that he's going to be out.
Yeah, this is a huge loss for the team because you'll see why in a minute. But Aaron Gordon, by all metrics, has been basically their second best player this year, and that you can't lose you're one of your best guys out there on a team that's not that deep in the first place. So, going to be definitely pretty hard for them to navigate this one.
Yeah, especially in the Western Conference. You take a look at the standings right now, and the Denver Nuggets may be a little bit fortunate, frankly, to be 4-3 as of this moment. They do have some solid wins, a solid win over Utah, and again, a 4-3 is a winning record. It's not the Eastern Conference though, where right now in the East you've got a team that is below 500, the Chicago Bulls, that is the 6th seed in the East. You look at the West, you have to be 500 or above to be even in the play-in the Western Conference right now, and that's probably the way it's going to be all season. I don't think that's an outlier. I think that's just the way that it's going to go. But when you look at what the Denver Nuggets have done, this team is not the dominant presence that it's been. They get blown out opening night by the Clippers, by the Thunder, lose the second game to the Clippers, and then 2 games on their schedule against Toronto. You win both of them, one of them in OT, but by a combined 4 points. That's not great. You get the blowout win over the Jazz, so you'll take that. You have to go to overtime to beat the Brooklyn Nets, who I think have been better than people expected, but still, you have to go to OT to beat them, and then you lose to Minnesota. So you haven't had a very difficult schedule here. Now you're going to be without Aaron Gordon. Jamal Murray, hopefully he's back sooner rather than later, with this concussion protocol, but you're going to be out multiple weeks, no Aaron Gordon. You look at the schedule ahead, it's not an easy one. OKC maybe playing the best basketball in the NBA. There's a few other teams that might make that claim, but certainly OKC is up there. You get Miami, Dallas, New Orleans. Okay, they've been struggling, but Memphis, we know they're good. Dallas again, the Lakers, the Knicks. This schedule is much more difficult ahead for the Denver Nuggets. Donnie, are the Nuggets in trouble here in the Western Conference, given that, number one, they've lost talent over the last 2 seasons. They've lost a number of players, KCP, Bruce Brown, most notably. And now, not only is the West getting better, but they've got 2 really important starters down right now in Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon.
Yeah, I do think that this is a pretty bad situation for them to be in. Again, missing 2 starters is pretty crazy for this team, given that they only have, only a handful of guys, I would say, that are truly, truly starter quality in the league, and they're missing 2 of them. That's pretty tough to kind of circumvent. The good news is they had some good production from Russ in the last game, so there's that. Mm-hmm. Hopefully he can keep that going. My expectations are low, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, losing Gordon in particular, like Murray has not had a good start to the season up to now. Quietly, Murray's been very mid, if you will, for the last 8 months, real time or whatever it is,
as the kids say.
As the kids say. But Gordon in particular, like I said, by the numbers, he's been their next best player. They're plus 27 with him on the court, which is crazy, given that a lot of that does come with Jokic, but they're plus 37 with Jokic out there, plus 27 there. And then Murray, they are still plus 20. Some of that's all because these guys play together in lineups, but he has been huge for this team. And Gordon has been blistering hot shooting the 3 as well, which is not something you would typically expect. And sure, that was going to come down to, to where it should have been, while Murray has been below what you would expect. And, that would obviously go back up, but missing 2 of their next best 2 players it's just not something that I think a lot of teams can overcome. And looking at their upcoming schedule here, you could argue that they can probably win at least a couple of these next games here. Sure. Miami, New Orleans. I think that they match up really well with those teams. And Jokic should have a field day with those teams, in my opinion. Although Miami, maybe Bam.
With Bam, they can at least give him some trouble, but especially if the defense can entirely focus on Jokic. Yeah. And I think that this puts a lot of pressure on Russell Westbrook to perform well, puts a lot of pressure on Peyton Watson, Julian Strawther. These are guys that are are going to have to step up. And if they don't, that's where I think Denver can get themselves into trouble. Donnie, I want to share this with you. This is, whew. If you want to see how impactful Aaron Gordon has been for this team this year, the Nuggets with Aaron Gordon off the court, this is cleaning the glass right here, a minus 13.7 in minutes that Aaron Gordon is not on the floor. They're getting crushed. Now, Nikola Jokic, it's even higher. They're like a minus 22 with him off the court. Maybe it's 23, but still, that's higher than you would expect for Aaron Gordon, who's a very good player. But this tells you how key he is to this team right now, given that they don't have a ton of depth. With him not on the floor, they're getting crushed. And so that makes, to me, their whole schedule moving forward a big question mark. And we talk about all the time, the Western Conference, how deep it is, how crazy the playoff race is going to be. They can find themselves behind the eight ball very, very quickly and have a very tough time getting out in the West because teams win at such a high rate.
Yeah, I think that is where you really have some concern with this, because let's say hypothetically they struggle over the next handful of games before they start getting their guys back here. We don't know exactly when Murray will come back, but without Gordon for a while, it seems, I think you said a couple of weeks or something like that. They could find themselves in a really bad position if they lose some of these games. And, with the West and the way it is, it's really hard to recover from that and in a meaningful way and make it into the playoffs. We saw it last year with the Lakers where they were really good to start the season. Then they had a terrible stretch in the middle where they went like 1-13 or something like that.
Yeah.
Something really crazy. And then for the last 46 games, they had a winning record with a third best offense, and they still were winning games and could not move up in the standings.
They were stuck in the 9 seed
and stay in the 9 seed. It was crazy, right? So that's kind of the trouble that you could have if you have just even one or two bad prolonged stretches out of a Western Conference team in the NBA. That is not good. But they do have Jokic, which is one of the main things you need. But loading up on him, that could be pretty tough for this team to overcome.
Well, it's going to be quite the burden on Jokic if they're going to get where they want to go with this schedule. If they're going to win enough games, like I would not project they're going to beat OKC tomorrow. Miami could be a challenge. You could still win that game. And again, some of it depends. You also look at we talk about Russell Westbrook, but like he's going to have to be big in all of these games. And unfortunately, he's very hit or miss when you do look at his production. And when he misses, he really misses. Like if what Russell Westbrook is up to bat, you're going to get one of two things out of him. He's either going to swing and hit, and he's probably going to get you a double, right? And you're going to feel like, hey, this is why we got Russell Westbrook, fill in for Jamal Murray. And hopefully, fingers crossed, concussion protocol, you never know. Maybe Jamal Murray is back next game. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see how long that takes. But Russ, you're going to, even with Aaron Gordon out, you're going to need more production from Russell Westbrook. Yes, Peyton Watson is going to absorb most of the minutes there. Julian Strawther as well. But you're going to need Russ to be a bit more of an offensive force, because the other result is a Russell Westbrook game. Not only does he swing and miss, but he spins around and falls down. Like that's how bad a Russell Westbrook at bat can go when he's having an off night. You know it's true, Donnie.
You didn't say he had to do all that.
We always gotta, take a little shot here and there at Russell, but it's true. You look at the stats. Yeah. He has some games where you go, okay, that's not so bad. But the games where he's bad, it's real. We're talking like 2 for 11 shooting, bunch of turnovers, missing free throws, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I just think with this team, it's also really tough to be without these guys, because when you look at their lineup data, their third most used lineup is Russ, Strawther, Watson, Porter Jr., and then Saric, and they're a minus 70 and 45 possessions. That's not a huge sample, but that's their third most used lineup grouping. And so when you start subtracting some of their main guys from this team, they just don't have the options to go to, especially if Gordon and or Jokic are not on the court. So pretty much what this means is, since Gordon will be out, Murray's out for the immediate future, they have no choice unless they're going to play Jokic 48 minutes per game. They're going to be in that situation where Jokic sits, and they're already in the situation where Jokic sits. They give up a quick run. He's got to come back in and then stabilize things, but that's going to cost you games. And so truly, unless Russ is going to play like with more consistency and like his namesake would tell you that he plays, then, I don't really know what they can do here in particular, because the upcoming stretch here is pretty tough.
Yeah, it really is a difficult stretch for them. They're if you look at the teams right now that we're concerned about, it's the Denver Nuggets, and I'm not saying they're going to drop out of the play. I think they'll just be more of a middle of the pack team in the Western Conference this season. The Denver Nuggets, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Philadelphia 76ers, who are now dealing with injury issues, or suspension issues, I should say, with Joel Embiid. Which, by the way, go check out our latest video on that. We talked all about it, broke down the suspension for Embiid after that altercation with a reporter. But Nikola Jokic, he's got to play a lot of minutes. They're going to have to rely on him a lot, and they have to hope that he doesn't wear down. He's been remarkably healthy, but I think this is going to be a major burden on him with Aaron Gordon out, and you're going to see a lot of Michael Porter Jr. at the 4, and that means that there's going to be even more pressure on Jokic to rebound because Porter Jr. isn't going to give you the same rebounding that Aaron Gordon does, certainly. So I think this is going to be a very important stretch of the season for the Denver Nuggets. And this, I know it's early. I don't want to exaggerate too much here, but with how tight things are in the Western Conference, I do think that this stretch without Aaron Gordon could ultimately make or break the Nuggets' playoff positioning this season.
Yeah, that's totally possible. I would consider it, though. I'll say I would consider it a success if we look back on this in a couple weeks. Gordon's coming back, and they're at or around 500. I think that's
Sure.
a pretty good mark for them.
Yes.
Like I said, their upcoming schedule is pretty tough. So
for sure, if they run, let's say Aaron Gordon is out 3 weeks. Let's say he's out till the end of November, right around the end of November. Let's talk, Thanksgiving ish. Aaron Gordon is going to come back. You run this stretch of the schedule, let's say you get to November 27th against Utah, and Aaron Gordon returns, because it's going to take a few days to ramp back up and all that. Mm-hmm. And you're playing 500 ball through this stretch, you're feeling great if you're the Denver Nuggets, given the teams they're playing.
That's a really tough stretch. So yeah. I think if they come out of that with 500, I think I'd be pretty happy. Obviously, better than 500. If they could do that, then we're really happy. But sure. At the minimum, around 500, okay, we'll say one game below is about where I'd go, but I'd be really happy with that.
All right. Well, everybody, let us know what you think. What's going to happen with the Denver Nuggets? Jamal Murray out right now. We'll see about concussion protocol. But now Aaron Gordon lost for multiple weeks. He's been their second most important player. They've been getting crushed in the minutes when he's not out on the floor. What's going to happen to the Denver Nuggets? Let us know in the comment section. And don't forget to subscribe and go check out our latest video on Joel Embiid and the suspension that the NBA just hit him with.